people, here we are. Block Party's out. I'm your host, Mike Wall. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying, please subscribe, rate, and review on X, Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. You can follow us on our Process to Perform channel on YouTube. Our show is always sponsored by Bet Online. Let me get this read, but before we get that, let's just go right to it. We're lucky today, man. I know we have mini camps, OTAs, all this stuff. You know, I hate talking about that. We got a special treat today. This is one of my favorite young Packers. Mr. Karl Brooks was a 5-year starter at Bowling Green. PFF had him first team All-American, I think his senior year. Do I have that right, Karl?
Yes, sir.
Somehow, now I don't know your combine times, and somehow he dropped to the 6th round. Green Bay picks this guy up, 6'3", 296, absolute unit. First year, 20 tackles, 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble, the one against Detroit, right? On Thanksgiving. Yep. Yeah, we got two fumble recoveries, and I know you had against the Vikings. You know, you had that blocked field goal, countless pressures, like a guy who just you made it look easy for a rookie. You got a nose for. I just say this guy's got a nose for the football. Anyways, Karl, thanks for joining the show. Really excited about it.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on here.
This show is sponsored by Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one source for the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup playoffs this season. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino. That should be fun. And get it on the game of blackjack or poker, or unwind one of our over 150 slot games. So head to the website today, get on the action, use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. Karl, let's just talk ball. You come in, and listen, there's first round draft picks, there's all this stuff you got to deal with, right? You're coming in 6th rounder. Mm-hmm. Bowling Green's not I'm a small school guy. Bowling Green's not like a Power 4 school. 6th round pick, but it just didn't seem like it just seemed like you fit in from the jump. And the tape doesn't lie. Eventually you keep getting more time and more time and more time. Like, were you surprised? Was the NFL easier than you thought it was going to be?
Most definitely not. I feel like the NFL definitely lived out to its expectations. I just really had to come in and adapt and get used to the culture and get used to the scheme of things, to working hard every day and to going up against the best competition every day, and it just molded me into the player that I'm becoming.
When you say that, so you were a 5-year starter though at Bowling Green, so like you're coming in with a little more experience than a lot of these guys, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But I kind of say I ain't really had the experience that I wanted. Bowling Green had me playing edge, and then I come in playing interior, so I really didn't have the experience inside to opposed to outside. So I feel like I was playing field with everybody.
So when you come in like that, so I know I was just trying to read up on you, and you were looking to go to Division II before Bowling Green saw that potential. You're playing defensive end again, like all this other stuff, the way you fall in the draft, all the whatnot. Are you one of those guys? I'm a small school guy, and I remember I came in from the Naval Academy, and we were running option offense. Like, I didn't even know how to take a pass set, right? I know it doesn't look like it now, but I used to play left guard, but I didn't even know how to take a pass set from day one, right? So you do come in with this, at least I did. I always came in like, I got something to prove. I got to work a little bit harder. Did you feel that way, or did you kind of feel like, no, I belong here? Like, day one, like, I guess you could feel both. You could feel like I belong, I should be here, but man, I really got some work to do because I'm a little bit behind maybe some of the guys that came in from bigger programs.
Yeah, like you said, guys coming from bigger programs, and me being a small school guy, I felt like, a lot of people looked at me like, man, he didn't play nobody in college. He don't deserve to be here. So I had a chip on my shoulder to go out there just to prove to everybody, even to prove to my teammates, like, look, man, I belong here too. And, I earned it, just all the hard work and, sacrifices through college and everything else. But I went in there with a chip on my shoulder, and I wanted to prove something like, hey, man, I can ball with anybody. So I even had that same thought process during the Senior Bowl, but that's another topic for something.
Yeah. That Senior Bowl's. I'll tell you what's funny about that Senior Bowl too is they're trying to get more and more of those, and there's really that is the premier one. And it's like if you get that invite, especially if you're a small school guy, like you get a lot of attention all of a sudden. And I mean, God forbid you win a 1-on-1 or two, like it's all over the way it happens. I mean, you're all over the internet. Excuse me. When you think about that first season, talk about like. Week 17 ends up, you guys end up losing in the second round to San Francisco. It's a great game. You've had a great year. You got just so much to build off of. Like, tell us about maybe the 2 or 3 things that you took away from that season that you just felt like, okay, I know exactly where I'm at. If I get better at these 2 things, like I'm going to work on this during the offseason. These are my goals. and so I can go into this kind of mini camp OTA period and then go into obviously into training camp with like a very, very confident foundation of where I'm going next.
Yeah, most definitely. So just going into that, coming off of college, coming off the Senior Bowl, and then going right into an NFL season. That season was long, so
Yeah.
I had it was a mental game for me. Just keeping my mind in tune. Making sure I'm staying sharp, going to each day. Attacking practice, not getting lazy, not falling in love with the details. Like I'm trying to do all these things through a 17-week period. So that was a long season. So one, just get my mental right, get refreshed. Another thing, just really just my body just getting stronger, getting faster. I was getting pushed around a little bit. And just to me, it's like, man, that's not the type of player I want to displace on the field. So for me, it's just getting stronger and getting confident and understanding the scheme of things and how offenses is trying to attack and everything. And, really like the vet play I was playing against the guards, just how savvy they is with certain techniques that I wasn't aware of. So just learning all that type of stuff just throughout practice and throughout games, it was just a good experience for me. But I would just say just my mental part of the game and then just getting stronger and faster as well.
When you think about switching from edge and then coming in and playing D tackle too, I mean, like usually when you see in the league now, that could be a 40-pound difference. And
Hmm.
you just happen to kind of fit the mold of a guy who's playing it, especially in this day and age when you're playing a lot more nickel, like 295 pounds, 300 pounds as defensive tackle. You're right in the mix, right? But
Yes, sir.
but I think people don't understand because listen, Justin Tuck in that Super Bowl against Giants versus the Pats like 10 years ago, they move him
Mhm,
inside and the whole game changes because he
mhm.
destroyed Logan Mankins. Logan Mankins is an all-pro guard, but everyone just went, oh, like we can put rushers back into D tackle, back down to D tackle, and just start destroying these interior linemen. But the difference in like leverage, technique, the speed of like, talk about a little bit what you see as being different from edge to just going down and having to play with two, potentially three guys on you at every single snap.
Yeah, like, just being on the edge and being inside, I feel like it's two different things. Being on the edge, I feel like you're just more free. You got more space. You can mess up out there and then recover real fast, or think you can, run off the ball, get some speed build up. And I just feel like inside is just quick combat. You got to maintain your leverage each and every play. You don't know run pass, so you got to stay low. And then just, I feel like pass rush is just a bonus because just rushing tackles is more, just thinking about it, more athletically gifted than guards. So I feel like I was using my speed and quickness for pass rush sake. But then, I can see myself struggling a little bit with the run here and there with double teams and stuff like that. So that's what I kind of worked on all off season. And just going into the draft, I knew I wasn't going to be an edge anymore. So a 300-pound edge is not ideal. So I already knew that I was going to kick it down inside and play inside. So I got a little bit of training, at three technique nose and stuff like that before actual camp started. But I say that was like the real like difference for me is just the close combat. And inside, you really can't make a mistake. You make a mistake, you might get lifted off your feet or something
Yeah,
like
man.
that.
It's
So
yeah.
it's
If your hips aren't, they had this dude. You remember Red Bryant? You remember the name Red Bryant? Red Bryant. He,
red
he was
body.
he was a rookie for he played almost his whole career for Seattle, and he played the first like Pete Carroll's elephant end. It's
Uh
like the
huh.
only 300-pound defensive end in the league at the time.
Hmm.
Absolutely, they're rare, but like to your point, if you they aren't well, certainly us guards are not as athletic as tackles, but the thing is like if your technique isn't right, like you don't know how many
Yeah,
people are going to hit you. Like that's the real issue.
from
So when
different
you're
angles.
oh yeah, yeah, it could become and so
Yeah.
that's the name of the game. Like as you progress, learning the game within the game and learning how to study your opponent, tips, tells, and tendencies, and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure like you got great vets in that room now. I want to talk a little bit about what you've learned from those guys, but certainly I think mentally, once you get your technique down, everything becomes automatic. We won't talk about your pass rush a little bit, but once you get that stuff down, it literally just becomes like, okay, pre-snap, who's hitting me, who's looking at me, where's my, where are their feet different, are their hands different? What tells are they giving away? Because then like
Hmm.
then everything slows down a lot more. But when we think about think about that room, you got Preston Smith in there who's been around forever. Kenny Clark's been a pro in Green Bay for so long. Like, some of the things that those guys are teaching you during the year that made you switch up how you did things in college, like routine wise from a prep standpoint? Like, what have you really learned from those? I always think that players are the best mentors we can have, and just like to hear your thoughts on those guys in particular.
Yeah, most definitely. Kenny was probably my biggest like role model looking up to because last year we was in that 3-4, so we had two different rooms. So, being in his room and just seeing how he prepared for each and every game. He's been there, like you said, for a long time. And, we got day one install. He's writing everything down again, even though he knows it. He's writing it down. He's taking care of his body. And then I'm just watching him drill each and every day when we do drills outside. Like, my eyes is glued on him. And really just like the things he teach me is the things that he do day in and day out. Like, words, he's great. Like, he tells me what he sees coming. He's reading backfield, formations and everything like that. But just to see how he works each and every day, how he take care of his body, how's he a pro, and it's just amazing to see. Like I seen it firsthand. Like it's
Yeah,
nothing that Kenny really told me. It was just me watching him work day in and day
soaking
out,
it in.
and just soaking everything all in. And then I was like, all right, I'm trying to go repeat what he just did. So that's kind of how I looked at it.
How were you watching? Like when you think about watching tape now, you watch a guy like Kenny and how he studies tape and how he's trying to pick everything else up, and then you think about what you were doing in college. Like, how were you watching film in college? That was my biggest. I'm not doing any. I felt like I wasn't doing anything by the time I started learning from like vets in the league. I was like, man, I had no idea how to watch tape when I was younger.
Yeah, most definitely. So when I was in college, it started off pretty much like my freshman and like my junior year. I'm just watching the man I'm going against.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching his every move. I'm looking at his stances. I'm looking at how he punch. Is he a high hand? Is he a low hand puncher? Is he backed up off the ball? What is he doing? What is he like? What type of player he is? I wasn't looking at the bigger picture. I wasn't looking at down the distance. I wasn't looking at formations. I wasn't looking at none of that type of stuff. I was just looking at just the man I was going against and how can I win my 1 of 11. But when I came to the NFL, it kind of just opened my eyes and like you see everything. Like you just see the formation and you kind of get an idea and just play process of elimination. Like and then in certain formation they like to do these two things and I'm gonna get these two blocks so I can react off these two things. So it just made me play the game faster and things like that. But just far as that, I just feel like in college, I'm watching the man and I'm studying him and I'm looking at his kick steps. How many steps is he? Is he a vertical setter? Is he, deep setter? Is he gonna like quick set me? Far as, when I got to the NFL, it's all right. They far gun wide off. They like this play, and this play.
Yep.
Like so that's kind of my deal, how I was watching it back then and now.
Here's what's crazy though. Like here's my prediction. My prediction is you'll learn all that stuff and it'll be automatic. So you'll be like, all right, they're in Y off backfield motion here. Here's exactly you'll know it like this, and
Hmm.
then all of a sudden you'll go back to okay, now let me do this guy again
Exactly.
because that guy's gonna still tell you everything you want to know because
Hmm.
they're still giving you all the tips, right? It's just you get a lot more information. How far is the back offset? Does that mean he can go backfield? Does he have to do it outside pitch? He's gonna
Yeah, exactly.
all that stuff's not that. And I think when you get to like when you get in that sweet spot, like I mean, you're so how old are you now?
24. My
Oh,
birthday was just May 8th, just passed.
okay. Well, yeah. So you're young now, and it's like in about 3-4 years, your mind and your body will be in like the exact same place, And
Hmm.
it's like that's when the game just comes. It gets completely slow, and all the stuff you're talking about, like you don't even have to think about it. And then you start studying that guy again. And it's like that guy, you just realize the guy's just like it's like you're watching the Matrix, man. There's just so much data coming at you. It's and it just looks like nothing to everybody else, but to you, it means something very, very specific, man. That is the sweet spot. So even though you guys had a 3-4, you guys are in so much nickel. I'm surprised that you wouldn't be meeting with the DNs and the D tackles together. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah,
What's
last year yeah.
let's talk about some so your pass rush moves. You're just talking about is he a flat setter, is he a vertical setter? You've got a lot of stuff in your arsenal, right? You got the stab, you got the push pull with the arm over the rip, you got the double swipe, you got the stutter inside. Like you like to get off the ball. What do you think when you're thinking about putting together a game plan for somebody? And you probably know you're going to get X amount of reps during the game.
Hmm.
Do you work through a catalog of like, I want to show these guys, I want to set this guy by showing different things? You're like, no, I'm just going to go right to my, like, how do you think about that when you're preparing?
So, just studying a guy, it depends on like if we're in week one and
Mhm.
what I'm saying, this guard hasn't got hit or anything, you kind of go out there and you watch last year's tape.
Yep.
And I'm basing it off of what he was, uncomfortable with, what was he comfortable with. I'm looking at guys like pass rushers that got similar moves as me, similar body types as me. Because if you get like a defensive end kicking down on the guard and he hit him with a crazy spin move, I gotta know that's not me. That's not who I am as a pass rusher. So I'm trying to watch similar body types, and I'm just trying to see what hurts that guard. So a lot of times it just be speed off the ball. Sometimes it be power, and then sometimes you got to get your hands involved in it. Some guards is different. They all don't kick the same. They all don't shoot their hands the same. So it's really just studying that offensive guard, see what he got hit with that hurt, and then see what he covered up really well, and then I just try to attack those weak areas.
What do you think your best move is? What's your go-to? 3rd and 8, you got to have it.
3rd and 8, gotta have it. I'll probably stay speed rush, get off the ball, attack your outside shoulder. As soon as you throw your arms, I throw my arms. If you don't throw my arms, by the time I get to my spot, I'm going right to power on you.
I was
And
trying
it's
to
too
tell.
late by then.
Yeah, no doubt. So who do you? So when you're watching guys that are your type or guys like moves that you like, just watching the way. Like, I'll tell you, Larry Allen just passed away, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever get to watch Larry Allen?
I didn't watch a lot of Larry Allen growing up, just not in my time period, but I
Yeah.
know who that is, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Larry Allen was like Larry Allen was. He was the only guy that all the rest of us guards were like, okay, he's different than everybody else. It was like, I guess
Mhm.
maybe it's like Aaron Donald is for a defensive tackle. I don't know. But Larry Allen was that guy where like my agent one time called me up. I was playing Dana Stubblefield, was like defensive player of the year. I was playing him in the playoffs. He's like, hey, if you want to know how to do well against Dana, then you should watch the Dallas Cowboys tape. So I turn on the
Mhm.
Cowboys tape, and I'm like, Dana's literally running away from it. It's like he's scared of him. Because he
Yeah.
bench pressed 700 pounds, he put a hole through your chest. Like people were scared of him. They got the Larry Allen flu. So I called my agent up. I was like, don't ever talk to me about football again, man. You just worry about your contract. I can't do what he's doing.
Yeah.
So when you're watching guys like, I mean, if you don't mind naming some names, like what guys are you looking at around the league? Are you looking at just vets, young guys?
I'm looking at guys that make plays. Anybody
Yeah,
in that three technique that knows. So like John Hargrave, I'm watching him. I'm watching
he's a good
Kenny, of
player.
course. I'm watching Quinn Williams. I'm watching the guy for the Chiefs. Forgot Chris
Chris
Jones.
Jones, yep.
Watching Chris. I'm watching guys like that. I like from the Colts, DeForest Buckner.
Yeah, it's Boris, but he's been so good. He's been good for 8 years, and because he was in San Francisco, those guys never got the credit they deserve. Man, he's unbelievable. He's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
angular.
He a dog. He an athletically freak too. He like 6'6",
Oh
like
yeah.
290. Like he's a freak. So it's like I'm watching guys like that, and I'm just watching, their approach angle. I'm seeing where they trying to hit their move at, and I really be, just trying to see what they're targeting, like when they're rushing, because like you can't be wild while you're rushing. You got to have a target. You got to have a plan. So like I kind of like watching those type of guys.
I love Quentin Williams. I love the way that defense allows him to penetrate. Um, when he was younger, you notice a lot of times that he was just doing kind of a lot of going from the B gap to A gap to B gap, and wasn't really utilizing his hands as much. And then the last couple of years, you see when he's really come on, he's done a really good job of being able to defeat, especially that inside hand when he shifts from like A gap or B gap to A gap, and guys just have a hard time. I mean, with guards, it's a footwork game. I mean, if you were talking about vertical set, the flat set, listen, if you get to your spot under control before I get to my spot under control, you're going to beat me. It's just a question of whether or not I can hang on long enough for the quarterback to get rid of the football. Like,
Hmm.
how frustrating is it when you're playing D tackle and you just know you're going against a fish, just a guy like I'm going to be able to take this guy all day. It's just a matter of when. And that quarter, it's like Kirk Cousins just keeps getting rid of that damn football.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are pros too. That's what
Yeah.
I had to learn, because I used to get frustrated, like, I'm hitting my move, I'm getting to my spot, but the ball gone. And then, I just get reminded, like, hey, they pros too, they get paid too.
Yep.
So it's just, I feel like just affecting him, not letting him get comfortable is my main thing. If the quarterback's not comfortable throwing the ball, I'm happy and I feel like I did my job. If I get some type of pressure in his face to get a bad throw, a high throw, or anything like that, or get him off balance throwing on his back foot, to me, I feel like that's a win. Just getting in
No
his face
doubt.
because it's helping the defense. So I don't really look at just sacks, but I look at just getting pressures because I was in training camp. Like Kenny had to talk to me because I was getting real frustrated. Like I'm hitting my moves, I'm winning, but I'm not getting there. It's another step. But he was just telling me like, look, bro, like they get paid too. They pros too. So just keep working and keep your head up and don't get discouraged. So that's kind of like my main thing how I look at it.
There's a guy played for the Vikings. He got drafted there when John Randall was still there. His name was Chris Hovan. He used to say pressure equals picks. He used to tell his guys
Hmm.
pressure equals picks. I always stuck with me, man, because back in the day they didn't really have advanced stats. So it was
Yeah.
like if you didn't give up any sacks, like nobody knew what you were doing. And then you start thinking about it, like, man, like he hit the quarterback like 6 times there. I got my ass kicked. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah.
you gotta, as offensive defensive linemen, it's like you have to relish the times that you win and not think about all the what ifs and what could have been, and all that kind of stuff. Cause like we don't really have, like, you have sacks, I have sacks given up. Like we don't have production things that really dive into it. You guys have it a little bit more now, but you got to be able to look at the game as like, am I affecting that game? Like to your point, or am I
Yeah.
not? When we talk
Like, I'll
about,
be honest, I'll take 6 hit quarterbacks. Like, I'll hit a quarterback 6 times over, like, 2 sacks. Like, I'll take that.
oh,
Like,
no
to
doubt.
me, that's a good game. I'm punishing the quarterback. He don't feel comfortable, and when he plays again, he gonna remember that. So,
When he plays the next series, the thing about quarterbacks that it's not, everybody's different, right? But if you hurt a guy, if you fall on the guy's ribs, like
yeah.
he remembers that for the rest of the game. Now, some of these veteran guys, or some of the, everybody's got a different level of dog in them. But if you hit a guy a couple times, I mean, the best quarterbacks in the world, you hit them a couple times, they're throwing some balls up early. I mean, it just is
Yeah,
how it is,
exactly.
no
Mhm.
doubt. And you can get the thing that's great about football now is like it's not as violent as it used to be in the way that they celebrate violence. But if you continue, like if a defensive tackle, defensive end continually wins and gets hit on the quarterback, like they're going to show that replay, and like people, you're going to become a household name without, you
Mhm.
might not have a sack in the game. You got 6 knockdowns to your point. Like people are going to walk away, go to their dinner table, and talk about Karl Brooks, which I think is
Yeah.
something they didn't really do years ago. So just having that awareness, I think that's one place where like Amazon Advanced Stats and all that thing has actually helped the game a lot as far as playing in the trenches.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right, I want to talk about some guys, and it just, I don't even know if I want to call it. This is not calling these guys, but if it's okay with you, I'd love to just talk about some of these different ways you like to win, or how you think about approaching guys. So like Ed Ingram's the right guard for the Minnesota Vikings.
Mhm.
I think he's going into his 3rd year now. When you play, you know who I'm talking about?
You talking about left guard,
I think he's the right guard, and I think
right
it's Ed
guard?
Ingram's. Yeah, the right guard.
Mhm. I know you talking about.
So he's kind of a flat setter. So when you see a flat set guy, the guy that likes to throw, what are you thinking? If you get, let's say, you're going to get five, 6 rushes on this guy, what are you thinking in that game? I got a flat set guy. This guy's going to try to throw hands, but he doesn't like to punch and extend. He tries to play me in close, so I'm going to be able to get my
Mhm.
hands on him. Like, what's your thought process?
I just feel like guys that wanna play close, they want people to bull rush. They want people to get into their body so they can, to, like, kinda wrap you up. So, for me, I feel like just speed off the ball and, like, just bull flip, but I don't wanna get nothing too much away,
Yeah,
give me
yeah, yeah,
confidence.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
but
let's just do this because they're on your team.
yeah,
Elgin Jenkins is good, right? He's
yeah.
just like, and why is he good?
His feet, like, he keep a base on him. He can move laterally quick. He can stay with you, and then he could change up his punches. Like, he just don't throw the same punches over and over like most guards do.
Mhm.
Like, he'll give you an in out. He'll give you a 1-2. He'll give you a 2-hand punch. He might give you a little quick set here and there. It's like he changed up his sets, so that's what I feel like makes him good.
Do you find that you win when you watch defensive? Because this is actually this is a point of contention sometimes with different offensive lines and offensive line coaches. If I pull data on every time an offensive lineman gets beat over the course of their
Mhm,
entire career, they're going to get beat the most when they're not doing their core set, when they jump somebody,
mhm.
when they mix it up.
That's when they
That's
get
what
in trouble.
that's
Yeah.
when they actually get beat, right? And so as a defensive tackle, to your point, like, yeah, he mixes it up, but also like a lot of guys lose then. So would you rather see a perfect set? I'm trying to think of a guy that just has a guy that just has a perfect set over and over and over, or do you want those guys who are like maybe going to give you a little tip? He's gonna try to jump set you every once in a while, or do you want to see that guy? Or I mean, I'm talking if you're playing a good player, not just a
Mhm,
guy who's like his set's not very good, but if you're playing
mhm.
against a guy who's just and he's going to give you all these different looks, do you feel like you can capitalize on that sometimes, or are you just like I want to take that guy who's got the same set every time and see if I can build on that?
If a guy got the same set through a whole period of a game, it's gonna be a bad game for him. So I feel like for me personally, if you change up your sets, but sometimes I like when guys like quick set me because if I beat you at the line of scrimmage, there's no way you recovering from that.
Mhm.
So if you quick set me, that's cool. But if you a guy, I feel like that keep the same set over and over, and
Yep.
you let me go to the sideline and see it on the pad, and you got my coach in my ear telling me about moves and this, that's a
Mhm.
bad game because
Yeah.
I'm gonna attack that and I'm gonna see it. Like if you the same setter over and over and over again, I'm just gonna build confidence and then I'm gonna start winning after that one. But if you change up your sets, quick set here and there, but if you jump me, I love that too though. So it's like I don't know.
There's no winning. There's no winning.
There's
No,
no
that's good.
winning.
That's the mentality, man. It's like as an offensive lineman, when you're thinking about how to. What stood out for me last year when I watched you was you just I don't know if it's a sixth sense or you just watch a lot of tape, but you just kind of understand where the ball is. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't know. Do you feel that way about yourself? Like you just have a nose for the football. Like it just kind of turns out that you end up and the ball's right there. And it's
Mm,
because you're working, but it's also like there's this instinct where you got to go down the road left to right. You always go left, and the left happens to be the right way.
yeah,
Um, when you're an offensive lineman and you start looking at guys, you're really trying to figure out like, can I get to this spot? And can my shoulders be square? Can I keep my distance from him? Can I do all these things? And
mhm,
so if you have a way to make that not happen for me, whether it's because you can threaten me with speed, whether it's because you've got a really good jab inside move that makes me stop my feet, whether you change up the way that you line up in your stance so that like your angle towards me a little bit more than others. So I stop moving, I open up early. Like you have all those things in your arsenal, in addition to all your chop club rips and all the other pass moves. But
mhm,
it really just becomes it really just becomes a footwork game. And everything else we do up top with the hand fighting and the bull, like it's all like a reflection of, have you gotten me to get my feet in the wrong place?
right.
So is there a guy this year, or there are any guys this year that you would say like, I had a really hard time getting him off his spot? Like there's just guys that are just very, very
Yeah,
consistent with. I mean, and Jenkins, I'm sure Eldridge is probably one of those guys because he sounds like he's so good with his footwork. But are those guys in the league where you start like in your D line room, do you start categorizing or talking about like, man, we really got to figure out something clever to beat this guy because he's a little bit different than the rest of them?
yeah, most definitely. You got some good guards that that I just went against along like the Chiefs game. The right guard, I forget his name. Right
Yeah.
guard though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Smith.
So
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Smith, yeah.
Yep.
So him, it was just difficult to get him off his spot. And then he's a big guy, wide guy. So it's like, he not
He's looking
really
for fight too, isn't he?
yeah, he looking for it. So it's
Yeah.
like for him, I feel like, it was hard getting him off his spot. We didn't have to game plan or nothing, but once I got my feet wet, I got my feet wet. But for him at first it was difficult. And then I would say the Cowboys game, their left guard.
Oh
Is
yeah, yeah, the young guy. I
yeah.
forget his name, Smith.
Smith. He
I
played
think he's
next
going
to
to stay
Tyler.
at guard too, even though even though they discovered a try. I think he's going to stay at
Yeah.
guard. He's going to be an all pro. I mean, Zach's obviously unbelievable. The right guard is,
Zach too. Zach too.
yeah,
Zach was a dog, and I just feel like he had like clever moves, like he'd hit a shoulder or something and get me off my spot or my rhythm. Or he was a good guard too. But I would say him like games like that. It was like, all right, he's not. I can't win like off speed and off that right here. So I got to win off my hands. I got to win off my bull pulls and my flips and scheme wise stuff. Like we're gaming up a little bit, and then just so he can be unaware of other things coming. Like, if he feel like a me game's coming or now it's a straight rush, like he gonna be honest about it. You know what I'm saying? So just hitting them with just changes and curveballs, and then when you get that straight rush, then you can really attack the way you want to. So just a little change ups in the game, but I feel like those are the two guards, or really three. Zach, both of the Cowboys guards, and then the Chiefs. That was like really like, all right, these some good guards right here. I got to work something up.
yeah. Those guys are great players. They're fun to watch on from my end as well. When you're Carl, when you're in the training, or when you're in the meeting room, meeting with the defensive line coach, the assistant coach, and even with the players, are you guys building a book on different players and how to attack them? Because some of these guys you see twice a year, but a lot of these guys you're going to see every season, especially you talk about the Cowboys and some of the teams that are higher ranked. Do you have a book on these guys? Have you started putting a book together and kind of figuring out like, let's go back on my notes? And I love what you said about Kenny's writing everything down, even though he doesn't have to. Because like
Yeah.
that's it's such an easy reference. Like right before practice or game, is like literally I just wrote hey, how am I beating this guy again? Let me refresh myself in my mind before I get out there, so I feel even more confident. Are you starting
Mhm.
books on these guys? Like, how does that process work? Starting with like the in the actual D line room.
So basically, we'll all watch the tape together. Then you'll go
Yeah.
home and watch the tape. But you already got some in your book, and every time you see something, you just write it down.
Mhm.
You just write it down, and we all break down the film together. And then when the day comes, when we got to talk about it, we just say to each other out loud just what everybody thinking. Like, hey, I like this move against him, and I like this move here, and I feel like this can be really effective. And I feel like he struggles with X, Y, and Z. And I feel like that you just hear it and then you just write it down. You make mental notes of it, and then by the time game time come on Sunday, you better be ready. Ain't no going on your notes on Sunday. That should already be programmed. I feel like to me, already programmed in your head before kickoff even starts. So you should already know everything about this guy, like how he sets, how he shoots. You should already know all that. So I just feel like during the week, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. There's other things, you got to worry about the run and, what they like to do and how they like to attack. But I feel like on them days where it's like pass rush, like oriented and, getting after it, you already got everything. And for me, last year, I already kept all my old notes. I might
Beauty.
not play every team, but like every team in our conference that we see twice a year, I already got all that. And I ain't throw that away. I still got it. And I'm sure when the season come back around, I'm gonna look back at it and then I'm gonna see what's new on the film too. So I still got it. I still got all my notes from last year.
Part of the process every year, man. So you guys got a new DC, a couple of new staff members on defense. The vibe around there is a lot. There's a lot of confidence on that defensive side of the football right now. Not that there wasn't last year, but it's like you bring in new blood and everybody feels good about what's going on. Like without getting too far into the scheme and all the details, just what's the vibe in the locker room now? Everybody's excited about the opportunity.
Man, we excited. We love the new scheme. We feel like it fits us as players. We love it. Happy's just a good guy too. He's a great DC. He's a guy you want to go out there and play for and give everything on the line for too. So I just feel like he's just a great person. Everybody love the scheme. It's all about sacks and TFLs. It's all
Yes.
about penetrating and getting off the ball. So we can't wait for that.
Now, one thing Hafley did a great job of, I think, when he spoke to the media, is he really just started talking about the fundamentals and getting back to them, and just how important it was that he teaches that. Is there, have you found that there's an emphasis on maybe the details of the game at your position? Maybe you're spending a little more time on that than last season.
Uh, really emphasize taking the ball away. I feel like
Perfect.
so we do some type of drill every day, just taking the ball away, creating turnovers, creating havoc, and really just getting after it. He's real consistent about that. He's real big on that. So I'll say that's probably like the number one thing that he preaches every day, and it doesn't matter what type of day it is. He's gonna preach taking the ball away and giving it back to our offense. So that's probably like the number one thing right now.
Who do you think the best D tackle in the game is right now? Best D tackle in the game, not named Karl Brooks.
Best D tackle in the game right now. I say Kenny Clark one, Chris
Mhm.
Jones two,
Okay, I'll buy that.
uh, Quentin three.
For guys that don't like for people that don't understand why stats don't always tell the whole story. Can you just
They don't
explain why? Can you just explain why? Because I Kenny's great. Can you explain why Kenny's so good?
just natural leverage, and it don't matter if you send two, you send three. He's gonna penetrate. He gonna stay in this gap. He gonna maintain his leverage. He gonna stay low. He gonna get the offense alignment off levels. So it's crazy. He got a bag in his pass rush move. He sets his pass rush up with power, and then he goes off that. So it's like I don't know, man. You really can't beat it. And I feel like I'm a little biased because I see it every day
Yeah, for
and
sure.
stuff like that. But just to see how he worked in last year, so it was just crazy for me.
I think Kenny, like I've always said this, man. Like I felt like Kenny got like obviously being in Green Bay is amazing, and he's done so, and like he's got awards, he's been paid, he's like, everything. But like, can you imagine if he would have been in a penetrating three technique from the jump? Like instead of you know what I mean? Like I always say, man,
Yeah,
what if he would have been a like in a penetrating defense at three technique from his rookie year? Like that would have been his numbers could be ridiculous because
you never
people don't
know.
understand how quick he is. People just
Yeah,
for position he plays, how big he is. Like what's he walking around at? Is he walking around at like 310?
around there. Yeah,
Yeah,
around there.
for as quick as he is, I mean it's not even fair, man. It's not. He's a special dude. All right. Last question for me before I let you go, man. And again, I really appreciate you having you coming on.
No, definitely.
Karl Brooks will have X how many sacks in 2024, 2025?
Double digits.
Yes.
Double
Hey,
digits.
let me
That's what
ask
I'm
you that.
shooting for.
I do have one more question off that.
All right.
When you come off a season, you play so well, and it's like, again, I know you don't feel this way, but look, I played 11. I've been in the round NFL for 30 years. You look like you belong from the jump, right? And I know you
Mm-hmm.
put a lot of work in, and it's not a mistake that you're there, right? What do you think about year two? Like, I don't want to go into your personal goals and whatnot as much as you'll allow us, but are you just looking like, hey man, I got to get X amount of reps. I got numbers that I want to hit. Like, how do you think about what you want to define as success for a season like the one coming up?
For me, I feel like just maximizing my opportunity. I don't know how many snaps I'm gonna get on the field. I really don't care. I just feel like when I'm out there, I want to make play. I want to make something happen. And I feel like last year, even with the limited snaps that I got, I feel like I still left a lot on the field. So I feel like just cleaning it up from last year, just improving and getting better day in day out, just to get a better player than I was last year. I feel like that's my main goal. Help the team win. Don't be a negative, input. Be a positive guy. Don't be, just be a good guy
Yep,
and go out there and do my job. I don't want to leave no plays out there in the field like I did last year. I remember that more than the plays that I made. So
that's
that's
the worst
just like
thing.
my
That's the worst thing about being a lineman, right there.
yeah.
You only remember the bad stuff, man. Hey, what part of Green Bay you live in?
The pier.
It's always 10 minutes from the stadium, no matter where you're at. What do you do? You guys still get around on Thursday nights? You guys still have team dinner or D-line dinner?
D line, yeah, we usually do that around the season,
Mhm.
or around training, like after training camp.
Oh,
Right
okay.
now, we ain't doing no D line dinners. We still
Did
just
you get the rookie dinner treatment?
got that last year. That was something crazy,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I was on 3 teams. Green Bay was the kindest group. But I was in Carolina one year, and I remember I won't say the names and everything, but Brenson Buckner was the vet D line in the room,
Uh
and
huh.
he walked out with a case of Louis,
Yeah. See, that's
on the
my
way
problem.
out.
I didn't know what Louis was till we went there. They talking about, can we get Louis? I'm like, what is that? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, ain't no way that's the
No,
yeah, that's
they had 3 guys that were paying for it, but really like one guy was the only guy that could like afford it. And he walked out with a case of Louis. And I remember walking over to him the next day, and the poor the D lineman, the rookie he looked like somebody had kicked his dog. He just looked like defeated. And
yeah,
I was like, Buck, man, if you did that to me, man, we'd be fighting in the parking lot right now. Like that was wrong what you did to that
yeah.
boy. Those are tough nights, man. But hey, what in the off season? You strictly football right now? You in anything else?
I'm football. I'm fishing here and there. I'm trying to get into golf, but it's just frustrating right now.
Nah. Listen, go to the driving range every once in a while. If you want to drink the beer, if that's why you're going, enjoy yourself. But
Yeah.
you're wasting a perfectly good athletic body playing golf. Don't waste your time. Go play Xbox. It's a perfectly wasted God given
Oh
talent. Is
yeah,
that
I'll be
damn
on the
golf.
game too. I'll be on the game too though, heavily. I'll be on the game heavily. I'll be on Call of Duty, 2K, Fortnite here and there, and Madden. So yeah, I'll be on the game too. I got a nice little setup.
I'll have my kid try to track you down online, man. He loves those things. I can't play them. It's just
All
too
right,
many
cool.
buttons now. I'm old, man. I need the 4 button. Hey, Karl, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. I really appreciate it. Great luck to you and the entire defense on this season. We can't wait to watch, man. Again, I'm super impressed with you. Love watching you last year. Can't wait to watch you this year.
Hey man, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, guys. Karl Brooks, everyone. Thank you. And we're going to finish up with a couple of listener questions here. But before we do, all right, we're back. We're going to do some listener questions. Man, that was fun. Oh, ought to be young. All right, here we go. Listener questions. Whether the Green Bay model has been right all along after $6 billion transaction for the Commanders, NFL's looking hard at private equity to buy teams. So basically, the question is, what if everybody could buy into a team via private equity? Maybe it's not private equity traditionally, but it's like, everybody could buy in, have a fun, and be an owner. The Green Bay Packers have been essentially Not really, but they've kind of done that since the 20s when they could buy stock in the Packers. That would be awesome. This is actually the model that's done in like member clubs over in Europe, is where people buy into a membership for a team. They can have sponsors, but the team's owned by members of the community, and it's fantastic. So I think that's a great idea. From a player perspective, is there a difference in culture between Green Bay and other organizations? Yes. So what are the main differences? Green Bay not having an owner. I've talked about this before. Not having an owner is a big deal. Just because the way that owner can, be involved, not be involved. I've been in a couple different situations. I think that's the big deal. But the other thing is you got to understand, whoever the head coach or general manager, whoever's in charge, it's like their way of doing business. It's going to be if they're doing it right, it's going to be their culture. So if they have a strong culture, it's going to be remarkably different than somebody you come in and maybe doesn't have that part of the game figured out. Maybe, sometimes a great play caller doesn't make you a great head coach. Why? They don't know how to develop a culture. Okay, so it's how difficult is continuity on the offensive line when guys are swapped in and out throughout the year? The 5 guys thing is really determined by how good those 5 guys are. If you got 5 good players or 7 good players and you're rotating a couple, like, you're going to be okay. Maybe the problem happens if those 2 players don't get enough time, like, that are right next to each other. They'd have to work on B blocks, double teams, things like that. Or if, like, these guys aren't very good. Like, if you got guys that are swapping in and out that aren't very good, well, then, yeah, your team's going to suffer. But, I mean, if you had 5 all-pros, like, if you go to the Pro Bowl and say, hey, you 5 just go start a game and here's the playbook, they're going to be okay. Like, life's going to be all right. They're going to have to work out some things from a communication standpoint, but it's going to be okay. So if they're doing that already in practice and you got good players, I really don't think it's that big of a deal. It does affect that individual who's swapping out. It does affect their confidence. It does affect their ability to get into rhythm. So those things at the individual level might show up, or we might look at them and say, oh, they don't have continuity. No, it's like that one player's not playing as well. How important is team chemistry at this level? Is there anything that really helps or hurts team chemistry? Yeah, it's huge. Locker room, huge. It's big, right? Accountability to your teammates and to yourself is big. Like being able to say, my bad. I did you wrong there. My bad. That was my mistake. How are we going to correct that? Can you help me on this? I know I need help. Dudes just getting along is big. Whether or not you whether or not you believe in what the coaches or the general manager is doing is actually a big deal. Like, if you think that guy's helping your position group play better, are they putting you in positions to win? That's a big deal. Those things, like, it's players want 2 things, right? Be put in positions to succeed and have the tools to be, help to find the tools to find success. If you can do that stuff, like, you're going to have a lot of success. If you don't, you're going to have a lot of team chemistry. If you don't, it can be a problem, right? Because it's not just all about, we're not all hired guns here. We want to think of ourselves as this team once we're on the team, but ultimately you do have to feel like you're being a position to play well. And if you're not, I think that's a problem. Were you the best O-line? Were you guys the best O-line in Packers history? We're talking about Clifton, me, Mike Flanagan, Marco Rivera, Mark Tauscher. I'll add Kevin Berry and Bubba to that because they were such a big part of what we did. Obviously, Will and Amon, such a big part of what we did. Brett, of course, such a big part of what we did. Listen, when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, you're going to be probably better than you really were. We happened to have a Hall of Fame quarterback. We had an all-pro running back. We had guys. Look, I would just look at it this way. Like, the guy who never got a Pro Bowl and all-pro vote on that team was Tauscher. And if you think about it now and you look at, like, how talented left defensive ends are, how much right tackles are getting paid, like, how important that position is, and maybe it was a little bit different back then, but Tauscher was maybe the linchpin in this sense. Like, most guys, most right tackles then couldn't pass rush or couldn't pass protect. They were not very good. That was the kind of the worst guy on the line. And he couldn't be beat. So a lot of the things that we could do were maybe different than other teams because Tausch never got beat. Now, he wasn't, I don't know if I think he would probably say he wasn't the most physical guy on our team, but he just didn't lose in pass pro. And when you've got a guy over there that's never going to lose, that helps a lot. Are rookie running backs intimidated by the fact they can't out-athlete guys in the NFL? Well, some are. Bijan Robinson wasn't because he could. I think when you get into the league, I think, if you can pick up the blitz, understand like all the mental game of that's different than college. I think running backs get a lot of heat put on their table compared to college. If you can pick up the blitz, if you understand pass protection, then I don't know that you can't, whatever you were doing from running back position in college, if you're at a high level, I think it's going to work the same. I think the big difference is like, can you pick up the blitz? If you can pick up the blitz, you're going to play. If you can't, you won't. And maybe some of the stuff in the passing game, depending on where you went to college. Can the Packers keep Pratt and Clifford at quarterback? Well, yeah, you can keep 3 guys. If those are your 3, one of them will be, I think, that game day decision. And let's see, last one. What is it like growing up in Lake Arrowhead? How many offers out of high school? Well, I went to the Naval Academy. That was my only option for Division I. I had a couple 1AA things at the Ivy League schools. Lake Arrowhead's awesome. I was by far I was part of the worst high school football program of any of my friends in college or pro. We were Division 8. We were never over 500. I was playing quarterback and didn't know the difference between man and zone. Like we had it was that part of the program. That part of living there was terrible. I was begging my parents to move me to down the hill to play in a more competitive school when I was younger. Had a great kind of run of it in basketball, but a great place to grow up. Shoot, you can go boarding in the winter. You can go, water skiing in the summer. It's a resort. It's a working class resort based community. One of my best friends from high school coaches up there right now. Their football program is actually quite good. But God, I was fired up talking to the young man there. He's just got such a bright future, and you just think about coming in with Hafley's system and him being able to kind of pin his ears back and penetrate. Like, I just think you're going to see a lot of Karl Brooks this year. I think, obviously I think Devontae Wyatt's going to take another step forward as well. But there's that he's got this thing that you can't explain. He's got this intangible thing. Like, he's around the football way more than everybody else. And that makes him unique, and that makes him very valuable. So hope you enjoyed it. I hope I asked enough questions for that to be worth his time, worth yours. Find me MikeWall68 on Twitter, X, Process to Perform on Instagram. Thanks again to Karl Brooks. What are you? Like, rate, right? Subscribe. I can't talk today. Like, subscribe, rate, and review on our YouTube channel, Process to Perform. That is it. I'll have this one out. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great one.